Hi, my friends. First of all, thank you for sending all these questions to the Lords of Football Facebook page. We received something like millions of questions. I've selected a few. They're not necessarily the most interesting ones, but they're definitely the ones I've got the answers for. So I'm going to start straight away. First of all, I would like to start with Colm Kavanagh, and sorry if I don't pronounce your names very well, but I'm Italian. So Colm would like to know from me, what player did I look up as a kid? I look up to, as a kid, two players mainly. The first one is an Italian player called Antonio Cabrini. He's one of the most legendary left back in Italian football, together with Paolo Maldini. He was born in my own town, in Cremona, and it was brilliant. He was a personal friend as well. Our family, my family and his family knew each other. He played for the national team. He won the World Cup in 1982. He started off with Cremonese, and then he went to Atalanta and then to Juventus. And I think that both of us, we hold a very peculiar record. Italy missed 2 penalties during the World Cups, in all the sort of editions of the World Cup. He missed one in the World Cup final versus Germany. We ended up winning, thank God for that, in 1982, and I missed another penalty in the 1990s. So unfortunately, we will be remembered for something not particularly good. The second player I looked up to as a kid was Johan Cruyff, the Dutch striker, fantastic player. He was an idol. I remember as a kid watching a movie about his career 10 times. And I absolutely adored him. Second question I would like to answer is from John D. He wants to know who was the best player I've ever played against. And I've got to say that the answer must be Diego Armando Maradona. I played against Diego about between 10 and 15 times, both when I was playing with Sampdoria and he was playing for Naples, and also with Italy, the national team versus Argentina. Diego was absolutely fantastic. He also became a personal friend off the pitch. He was a leader. He was so creative. He was a decisive player, very talented. He was a goal scorer, but it was a team player as well. And I remember about Diego something very important. Even though he was by far the best player on the pitch, he never ever complained to his teammates about a bad pass. He was always supportive. He was a true legend, but he was mainly a leader, very understanding of the fact that he was on another level compared to his teammates. Third question is from Kevin Hillen. He wants to know whether I'm going to manage again at some stage. Well, Kevin, I am very happy doing my work for Sky Italia now as a sport consultant. I talk about football, so I'm still involved in football, obviously in a different position. I am not on the pitch anymore, and I've got to say I love it. I love it. It's stress-free. It is football. I've got time for my family. So at the moment, I don't see myself making a comeback in football unless someone is going to call me, and the offer has got to be right. Plenty of money, a good team, a good project, and a good club owner to work for, because that's essential. The relationship with the guy who owns the club. But if it's going to happen, I don't see that happening for longer than 3 or 5 years, because I kick the addiction. I can live a perfectly happy life without being involved in football on a daily basis. That's my point of view at the moment, but it might change in the future. Next question, Colin Delon Grant. He wants to know what is wrong with Chelsea at the moment. Is the manager, the players, the tactics? What are my thoughts about the matter? Well, obviously I'm very fond of Chelsea Football Club, and I think AVB, the manager, Villas-Boas, is a very talented young manager. I think this season is going to be very tough for Chelsea, because it's one of those seasons where you want to start building the foundations for a very successful future spell. And when you do that, you've got to make tough decisions. On the one hand, you've got your best players, like the John Terry, the Lampard, the Drogbas, like they are the best, but they are aging, and you want to try to phase them out gently, slowly, and you want to bring in some new, younger, talented players. So with that, you've got the older players that are not that happy, and it might create a few problems inside the dressing room. The spirit of the team has got to be always high, so you need to manage the players perfectly. And at the moment at Chelsea, it's not easy with these situations of having to rebuild the team. So I predict a very tough end of season for Chelsea. But if given the time, I'm sure the Villas-Boas can sort this out, hopefully quite soon. Next question is from Colin Dellon Grant. Actually, two questions from Colin. The first one I've just answered. The second one is about, he wants to know whether it is true that I've got the smelliest feet in football. Well, Colin, I can tell you that's not true at all. I wash my feet regularly. And but funny enough, there was when I first joined Chelsea from Italy, one of the tabloids wrote something about me having 6 toes on my left foot. That was wrong. I've got 5 toes on each foot, and they're not smelly. Thank you very much. Next question is from Jamie 4 Acres. Strange name, but Jamie, you want to know whether I will ever get back into management. I've already asked that question. So the next question is from Mr. Bahath. In my opinion, he wants to know who's the best manager right now. Well, there are a few who are absolutely amazing, starting with Jose Mourinho, obviously Alex Ferguson. I get up every time I mention Alex Ferguson's name because he's an absolute idol, an example for all the young managers. Roberto Mancini, a personal friend, great manager as well. Arsene Wenger, and the Italian managers as well. But if I had to pick one right now, I would say Jose Guardiola, because he's doing amazing stuff with Barcelona, Champions League, La Liga, and they also won the World Cup with Barcelona for a club level. So at the moment, Pep Guardiola is the best manager in the world, from my humble opinion. Next question from Philip O'Flynn. He wants to know the best moment of my playing career and why. Well, the best moment of my playing career is definitely the Champions League final, which I happened to win with Juventus in Rome. It was my final game with Juventus. I knew I was going to join Chelsea, at the end of the season. So I was under a tremendous amount of pressure. I had already lost the Champions League final with Sampdoria in 1992 at Wembley versus Barcelona. So I so desperately wanted to win that final. And I was the captain. And when I lifted the cap with the big ears at the end of the game, for me, it was just, it's an impossible feeling to forget. And I still have wet dreams about that moment. Next question from Mr. Kalangutkar. I hope that's pronounced well enough. He wants to know who's the player who scored the highest number of goals in the history of football. I don't quote me on that, but it must be Edson Arantes do Nascimento, detto nicknamed Pelé, obviously legendary player, probably the best of all time, and apparently he scored more than 1,000 goals during his career, which is amazing. Next question. What is my best Chelsea memory? From Mr. Yusuf Quadri. I was quite lucky at Chelsea because we happened to win many trophies when I was in charge. And probably the best moment was my first game in charge as a manager. I was playing and managing at that time. We played Arsenal in the semi-final of the Carling Cup, and we had to beat Arsenal, and we did at Stamford Bridge. We beat them 3-1. I played, I didn't score, but we beat them and we got to the final. And I remember at the end of the game, I was tired. I was thinking to myself, why the hell did I accepted this position as a player manager, because I'm not going to survive it. It is too stressful. But beating Arsenal made me realize that it was a job I could do well enough. And it was just fantastic. I'm going to switch to the Italian questions now. So this is for my Italian friends. Comincio con Francesco Spataro, che vuole sapere qual è stata la mia miglior partita. Francesco, è una domanda abbastanza difficile. Ho giocato più di 500 o 600 partite e per fortuna molte di queste sono state molto eccitanti e molto importanti, però devo dire che la partita che ricordo con più piacere è la finale di Champions League con la Juventus. Probabilmente non è stata la partita migliore che ho giocato, però è stata sicuramente quella che mi ha permesso di vincere il trofeo più importante, e è stata molto molto emozionante. Seconda domanda è da Walter Bonci, vuole sapere quanto è importante la maglia per riuscire a trovare le motivazioni giuste e che cos'è che ti spinge a far meglio come calciatore, il peso che ti porti sulle spalle. Fare il calciatore è bellissimo, perché quando diventa una professione praticamente è la tua passione che hai la possibilità di fare e farla diventare una professione, quindi è la cosa che ti permette di vivere. Quando trovi questo tipo di situazione credo che sia il massimo, lo fai senza troppo sforzo, anzi con molto piacere. È chiaro che ti dà molto potere, perché una tua prestazione più o meno positiva può portare gioia nei confronti di migliaia, centinaia di migliaia, milioni di persone, così come una prestazione negativa, un risultato negativo può portare invece questi tuoi tifosi a essere delusi, a essere tristi magari per un certo periodo di tempo. Quindi questo è un grande potere, però ti dà anche grandissima responsabilità, e puoi superare questa responsabilità soltanto se sei molto professionale. E hai attaccamento per la maglia, per il lavoro che fai, rispetto per i tuoi compagni di squadra, per i tifosi, per il tuo allenatore, e naturalmente devi fare tutto con grandissima passione. Ci vuole naturalmente anche un pizzico di fortuna. Prossima domanda, da Roberto Costarelli, che mi chiede qual è il gol che ricordo con più emozione con la maglia della Sampdoria. Ho giocato con la Samp per 8 anni, e devo dire che forse il gol più emozionante è stato quello nella finale di Coppa delle Coppe a Gothenburg contro l'Anderlecht, il gol dell'1-0, tempi supplementari, poi ho fatto anche il gol del 2-0, però quello dell'1-0 è stato il gol che ha sbloccato la partita molto equilibrata, e poi da lì insomma partita in discesa, non un gol bello, anzi il portiere che riceve il pallone poi lo perde, io che arrivo, un gol da opportunista diciamo, però un gol fondamentale. Per il nostro primo trofeo a livello europeo con la Samp. Prossima domanda di Vito Cirielli, che vuol sapere quando allenerò la Juventus. La risposta è: non credo che allenerò mai la Juventus, perché penso che Antonio Conte, e spero che Antonio Conte possa essere allenatore della Juve ancora per molto tempo, e quindi non credo che succederà mai. Anche se un giorno mi piacerebbe tornare magari in un ruolo diverso, magari come dirigente, a lavorare nel calcio. Ed è chiaro che mi piacerebbe farlo per una delle squadre per le quali ho giocato, quindi possa essere la Cremonese, la Sampdoria, la Juventus e il Chelsea. Perché io credo che con le proprie ex squadre un professionista abbia lo stesso tipo di rapporto che puoi avere con le tue ex mogli o fidanzate. E cioè, ad alcune rimani molto affezionato, anche se poi è finito l'amore. Altre invece proprio non le puoi sopportare e quindi non le vuoi più vedere, non ne vuoi sentir parlare. E poi con altre invece hai un rapporto corretto e desideri comunque che siano felici, ma mai troppo felici perché comunque loro hanno deciso di non stare più con te. E quindi questo è il tipo di rapporto che ho io con le mie ex squadre.